We could not have any of these incredible education series that we bring to you each and every month. We've had a busy month. So far, this is our second one of the month, although I feel like we've done a couple on the side as well for some fun grants, bringing our community in. But we can't do what we do without our sponsors. So a big shout out to our education sponsors, which is our presenting sponsors are West, Merck, Lilly, Novartis, and Gilead Sciences, with support from our gold sponsors, Pfizer, GSK, Daiichi Sankyo, and our supporting sponsors, AbbVie, TerraSera Therapeutics, and Veristem. We are honored that they are here to support us. We do many of these throughout the year, and we just could never do what we do without their support. So I'm going to just share that slide real quick. Dietitian team, do you see that in full screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you all to those wonderful sponsors. We appreciate you. Okay, so we are setting the table tonight. And just to make a couple announcements, just keep yourself on mute. We do have quite a few in today's virtual hangout, and we will definitely be watching the chat as well. A couple reminders that Thursday, December the 4th, I find it hard to believe I'm talking about December, but we're going to be talking about feeding the mind, nutrition for cancer-related cognitive decline with Aubrey and Aaron. So talking about the prevalence of cognitive decline, changes related to cancer, and how nutrition can actually support brain health. A very hot topic for sure. Chemo brain is real. I remember that all those years ago, and still feel like sometimes there's some residual that I at least I use that as why I still can't remember things. So I love to get the tips and make sure that we are there to support our community. And of course, if you have not gone on our Unite for Her Connect library, please feel free to get in there. Everything is recorded and up on the library for you to browse through. We have so many topics that have been incredibly valuable to our community, and would love for you to use that as a guide where you feel like you get the best and the brightest minds and topics that you can actually go in and learn from. We have done 5 years of at least 3 times a month of topics that really have come from us from the community. So please feel free. I put the link in the chat and would love for you to browse through there and then tell us if there's anything that we don't have that you'd like to see. Erin is actually working on the 2026 calendar. So we're always looking for topics that might be of interest to you. Okay, so actually you guys can just give a big wave when I call you out. Aubrey Red, our culinary nutrition manager here. Erin Pellegrin, our director of culinary nutrition and education. Catherine Romano, our Latina program and culinary dietitian lead. And Michelle DiCristofaro, our senior culinary dietitian. Welcome tonight. I'm going to keep them front and center. And we are going to be talking about setting the table and cooking methods 101 with our team. We are very excited to start with Aubrey. And let me pull everybody off. And Aubrey, you're gonna get us started tonight. What do you have for us?
I have an appetizer. So we are walking you through a holiday table of sorts with an appetizer, a salad, a side, and a dessert. We don't have enough time for an entree today, but I'm sure you'll have a delicious one on your table. I am starting with a very festive pumpkin hummus. I personally love hummus, and I think it's so fun because it's so flexible, right? You can make it flavored in different ways. The hummus itself, super easy. We're going to do that first. And then I'm going to make a very fun tray. It should, in theory, by the end, look like a turkey. We'll see. However, we're going to make a fun little crudité tray while I talk just a bit about holiday nutrition to gear up for our hangout tonight. So first thing, you're going to need a blender or a food processor. So I have mine here. I'm going to take the lid off. I have a can of chickpeas that I drained and rinsed. I'm going to pour that right into the blender. The entire can, drained and rinsed, right in there. Now, we were talking about this, funnily enough, at the office yesterday, is what types of beans that you like. Hummus is typically made with chickpeas, but keep in mind, you could make it with another type of bean. It would be just maybe a different type of dip. You could make it with white beans, like cannellini beans. You could make it with kidney beans. You would just potentially need to change the ratios of your fluids, be it olive oil, tahini, what have you, to thin out the mixture. Since this is pumpkin hummus, I have a cup of pumpkin puree. So this is canned pumpkin puree. But if you, for example, maybe you get a pie pumpkin or a couple that you're going to use to make some holiday dishes, you can take your pumpkin, roast it, a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper if you want to, and then you can blend it up and that can make your own pumpkin puree if you're trying to make more things at home. I love the simplicity of a canned pumpkin puree, so that's what we're using today. I have some spices that I'm going to put in here. A teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of chili powder, and half a teaspoon of cumin going right in. And I have a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, so about 2 tablespoons here. I'm going to add that right into my blender. Now, I also need some garlic. You've probably heard us before say how we love garlic. The recipe calls for 3 cloves. I'm using 5 because 3 of them are very small. So, 3 to 5 cloves of garlic you'll see in there. If you don't like the taste of garlic, absolutely feel free to leave that out of the recipe. I have 2 tablespoons here of tahini, which is sesame paste. Now, if you're, let's say, allergic to sesame, you could always use a different nut butter. For example, you could use peanut butter in this if you wanted, or you could use sunflower butter as well. All right, last but not least, just some fresh lemon juice, about 1 to 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to cut this in half, and I'm just going to squeeze about half of my lemon into my blender here. Now, I love to host, but I also love when something doesn't take a lot of work. So, especially if you're having gatherings around the holidays where maybe you're going somewhere or you don't have a ton of people coming, or maybe they're not coming for a full meal, I feel like this hummus is such a great and easy recipe that doesn't require too much work. What we're going to do, we're going to take it and we're just going to blend it or pulse it until it's nice and smooth. Now, this is up to your discretion. I always say I could blend until the cows come home because I love everything to be nice and velvety smooth, but that would be very dull sitting here watching me blend forever. So we're going to blend it until it at least gets mixed up together. So let's kind of give it a couple pulses here. All right. And a lot of times what I'll do after that first pulse is I will take just a spatula. I have my winter spatula here today, but I'll take my spatula, just kind of push down the sides, make sure any of those beans that are like kind of flying up to the top are getting down to the bottom. And let's give it another blend. Beautiful. All right, so I can see in my blender here towards the bottom, I can see that a lot of my hummus is really well blended. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to mix just a bit, get some of my more blended hummus closer to the top, and I'm going to get some of my less blended hummus closer to the bottom. Now, if you're doing this and thinking, goodness, this looks really thick, you can add in just a little drizzle of water or olive oil. I'm going to start by just adding the tiniest spritz of water. Remember, you can always add, but you can't take it out. So keep that in mind. Start small. You don't want to start with a ton. Perfect. All right. So I've got at least enough in here that I can show you all without blending forever. I'm going to leave that over there for a second, and I'm going to get our kind of crudité ready, which just essentially means a vegetable board, while I talk a little bit about holiday nutrition. So I think around the holidays, a lot of times, a lot of people feel, let's say, maybe uncomfortable or nervous because they're worried about if their goals will transfer during the holiday season, right? If you've been working on weight management or if you've been working on eating more plant based, a lot of times holidays look a little bit different. My key takeaway is that that's okay, right? In those terms, the holidays, whatever holidays you celebrate, those are 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 days out of every year that your nutrition is going to look a little bit different. The other 360 days of the year, your nutrition is probably doing really well. So I think it's important to think about flexibility in this term. However, if you're thinking, Aubrey, I really want some actual tips, what can I do besides just telling me that I can eat what I want to eat? One thing that I hear a lot with Thanksgiving is, oh, I'm not going to have breakfast or lunch because Thanksgiving is going to be such a big meal. Now, what I would recommend to you is have your breakfast, have your lunch, then treat Thanksgiving as a little bit of a holiday sampler, or this could be any holiday meal, right? If you know you have a big meal coming up with your friends or your family. What happens when we don't eat all day and then we just eat at one particular meal is we tend to overeat because we're so hungry by the time the meal comes. Then when we overeat, we start to feel a little bit sick. And then sometimes that comes with even, which is really tough, is a little bit of guilt, right? For overeating or eating more than we planned. So make sure you're eating a well balanced meal throughout the day. Something else I would recommend is get out and move a little bit. It might be cold. I know it's cold here in Pennsylvania, but take a walk if you can, either before or after your meal. It's a really great way just to get your body moving, get your blood pumping, and also to help things like your blood sugar regulation. So, focusing on movement can be good too. A couple other tips before we start to pop this all together is I would say focus on color, and you will see this here on this board today. More color means more nutrition, right? You're going to get more vitamins, more minerals from your food. If you can get reds and oranges and yellows and greens, it's better than a big plate of brown, right? So that cranberry sauce, that counts too. That's a nice bright color. Now, maybe the canned cranberry sauce, a little bit different, but we have a delicious fresh cranberry sauce on our website. I know Michelle's going to talk about it in just a second. But focus on color because that'll also help you focus on fiber. It'll help you to get in more plant foods where maybe you wouldn't be getting plant foods. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I am going to make my holiday crudité, and this holiday in particular, I'm thinking of Thanksgiving. So I'm going to try my best here to make a little bit of a turkey. Now, as I make this, the one thing I love to do if I'm going somewhere that somebody else is hosting, I love to be the person that brings the vegetable. Sometimes the vegetable is the afterthought, right? I know I've been there before as a host. You're not thinking about that at all. And the vegetable is something then that you can ensure you are getting a lot of delicious fiber and vitamins and minerals without feeling like you're skimping out on anything else. So bring a vegetable tray for a crudité or bring a side dish that's some vegetables. Bring whatever makes sense to you, whatever you like. And maybe you even have the opportunity to share this recipe that you love with the people you love. Maybe you're introducing your family to Brussels sprouts and they've never had them before, right? So, especially as you're on this journey too, you're bringing people into the goodness. All right, so I'm trying to vary here my colors as I make my fun little turkey crudité. So, I've got my cucumbers, I've got my carrot coins. I love the carrot coins. I'm going to do some yellow and some red peppers. And then I think I'm just going to toss in a little bit of sugar snap peas for some pizzazz in here. So, with that, it's just going to be a really great opportunity to even start a conversation, maybe, right, around some of these healthful plant foods. I know, especially we talk a lot about the benefits, but a lot of you are on a lot of our cooking webinars and a lot of our education series, and maybe you've learned a little bit, about the benefits of plant forward eating. So, sharing with loved ones is also a great way to show your care as well. All right, last little bits here, popping those on. Now I'm going to take my little dish. I was hoping everything didn't fall out. And I'm going to get just a little bit of our pumpkin hummus here. Now, feel free to play around with the seasoning. If you make this and then you're thinking, oh, I really wish it had more lemon, or, I wish it had more tahini or more spice, absolutely play around with it. Make it your own, make it what you like. All right, so I'm going to fill up my little cup here. Mine's a little on the chunkier side, which I don't mind. Again, I could blend until the cows come home to make something nice and smooth, but it's like watching paint dry doing that. So I've got my hummus. Now, you could style this by putting a little drizzle of olive oil, maybe some pumpkin seeds. What I'm going to do, in theory, is I have two cranberries. So I'm just going to make them like the little eyes of my turkey. And then I'm going to pop that on the tray. Let's make maybe a little nose of our turkey here. Why don't we? Pop that on the tray. I've got my little turkey nose. And there is our Thanksgiving or holiday crudité with our featured recipe, which is our pumpkin hummus. So I hope everybody enjoys this appetizer. Sue, do I have any questions in the chat?
No, just that people love it. So cute.
It's so fun, right?
It's a fun one for kids too, Aubrey. They will love putting that together, right?
Exactly, exactly. Hey, it's a fun one for me, and I'm an adult,
Right.
right? So I think get everybody involved. But I know I didn't really use this. I could have used my spoon to scoop out my hummus. I might use this to eat my hummus in a second. But I know that Erin is up next, and I think she needs a spoon, right, Erin?
Yes, I do.
Well, let me pass it off to you. Do you want to grab the
I do.
spoon?
I do. I
Okay,
got
you
it.
got it? Okay,
Yes. Thank you.
amazing.
Excellent. And I will take it from here and I will follow your advice. And I'm bringing the salad to the holiday meal tonight. So I agree with you. The holidays are filled with decadence, foods that we don't normally indulge in. So today I'm bringing a lentil and a cabbage crunch salad. And I love this because I think having something bright, with a little bit of acid, a bit of freshness is a welcomed flavor profile when things tend to be a little bit heavier, a little bit more decadent. And I love this recipe so much in particular because, agree, Tiffany, love lentils. You can make this ahead of time. So we're purposely using ingredients that even when they're dressed with a really delicious salad dressing, they hold up well. So if you are hosting or if you're traveling, you can make this ahead of time. It will stay really well throughout the day. And then all you have to do is top it when you're ready to serve it. So let's jump into it. So everything we're using has a crunch to it and it holds up really well. So first thing is lentils, but we're going to prep our vegetables. I've done a little bit already, but we're just going to continue to add to this. So like I said, the base of this cabbage crunch salad is some purple cabbage. So I've already sliced some already, but let's finish slicing. And the key when we're making any sort of cabbage salad, you of course could use green cabbage. You also can use radicchio, which is often found in Italian recipes. It looks like a purple cabbage, but the head of it is not quite as large. So you'll find it in smaller rounds. But it as well, it's a little bit more of a bitter taste. I love it, but it also has that crunch. The key to making a really wonderful crunch salad is slicing your vegetables thin. So you can do this with a food processor with the shredding or the slicing element. You could use a mandolin. Make sure to use the guard if you're using it. Don't be brave and just use your hands. Or a sharp knife, a little bit of time, and you can thinly slice this. And truth be told, when I slice a cabbage, I just kind of like break it up into small pieces and I take my time and I thinly slice. And this way it holds the crunch and you don't have big pieces. So the dressing that we're going to make, because homemade salad dressings are easy and they're delicious and they're cheaper than buying it in the store, it allows it to evenly distribute through everything that's in the salad. So if you have issues with neuropathy, definitely try a food processor. In a lot of grocery stores, you can also find pre-sliced cabbage as well, even a mix of green and purple. So, we talk about sometimes spending a couple extra dollars, if it is a time and energy saver for you, is well worth it. So just take your time, thinly slice. Don't take your hands away from the cutting board. Make sure you watch what we're doing. And then everything goes into the bowl. So that's number one, crunch number one. Number two, and a really lovely complement to all these flavors, are some radishes. I love adding radishes. Again, we're getting that crunch element, and we're getting some beautiful, like that bite that you get from radishes. So I've cleaned and I've scrubbed these, so no need to peel. I'm also loving the different colors that we're using. Aubrey talked about eating different colors. I'm just going to, again, thinly slice. I've got purple and red. I've sliced some white radishes as well. And this will just, the flavor profile will pair really nicely. So radishes are great, any kind of radish. And again, if you don't like them or you don't have them available, just think similar texture. So other veggies that have a firmer texture to it that you enjoy raw could be a perfect substitution. I love recipes like this because, as I say, they're a suggestion. You don't have to stick to it. It's not like we're baking where everything needs to be exact. Feel free to substitute. So this is thinly sliced as well. There we go. That'll go in. We'll set that aside. And then finally, we're going to grate. So I have a carrot here. I scrubbed it really well. I'm leaving the skin on, and I have my food grater here. Again, you can use the attachment in a food processor if you wanted to, and just grate this. And again, carrots are that vegetable that have a firmer texture. So when we dress it, even if it sits in the refrigerator, it holds up really well. And all of the different colors that we're getting, from the pink radishes, the yellow carrots, the orange carrots, the purple cabbage that we're using, come from different antioxidants. So we're getting that nutritional boost. So, like Aubrey said, you want to enjoy the holidays, but you want to maintain some of those health goals. This is a way to do that, to find that happy medium. So we're just going to grate this. And again, you can find grated carrots in the grocery store. So if this is something hand strength is an issue, um, then maybe you're buying something that's pre-cut. All right, so my yellow carrots go in. So now we've got our crunch factor all set up. All right, so everything goes in. Now let's add our lentils. So this is a really lovely pairing. We've got some vegetables, but we want to add some protein. Lentils are cheap. They're versatile. They're a great way to add flavor and fiber, right? So it helps with fullness without having you feel heavy when we have all those other indulgences. So I am using, this was half a cup. I pre-cooked this in a little bit of vegetable stock and a bay leaf, half a cup dried. And so I'm just going to add these to it. This, again, lentils are something that you could make ahead of time, store in your refrigerator, and get them all mixed. So this is going to be the base of our salad.
You don't drain
Nice.
those, Erin?
I did drain it a little bit. There is a little bit of liquid, and I'm using a slotted spoon just to make sure I don't add too much liquid. But truth be told, there's a ton of flavor in that. And because my crunch factor elements of my salad, it's not going to get soggy. So
Great.
even if a little liquid goes in there, it's got full of flavor. So we'll start with that. I'll use my tongs just to get this initially mixed. We'll make our salad dressing, and then we'll get this plated. And use your fancy plateware. So if you have a decorative holiday platter that you like to use, this is a really great salad to spread out on it because visually it looks really beautiful with all of this different color. So initially we have some mix. Let me set that aside and we'll make our salad dressing. So we've got lots of different salad dressings on our blog, as well as plenty of other recipes. And we always encourage making. So simple ingredients. Again, all of these are just a suggestion. So feel free to swap out. I make all my salad dressings in a little jar because you can double and triple the recipe, store it in your refrigerator. Again, this is a make ahead option. So the first thing I'm starting with is a little bit of olive oil. From here, for a little bit of sweetness, just to balance it out, I'm using balsamic vinegar. I have 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to use about 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. Feel free to use whatever vinegar you have. A champagne vinegar would be great. Apple cider, white wine, red wine, whatever you have, lemon juice, all of which would be perfect. You just want a little bit of that acidic to brighten everything. So we've got that. I'm adding a little dab of honey. Again, with balsamic, you don't always need it. It's just like half a teaspoon, so not too bad. I have some Dijon mustard here. We're going to do about half a teaspoon. Dijon mustard I like because, again, it adds really nice flavor, but more so, it adds a little bit of a creamy texture to it. So mustard in a salad dressing in and of itself is something I always love. Now, you could do a honey Dijon and cut out the honey altogether. That would be fine. But this is really great. We have our olive oil and then a little bit of salt, pepper. So some good kosher salt, freshly ground black pepper. And then for a fun little twist, totally optional, I'm going to add a little pinch of chili powder. So just a little bit. This by no means is going to make this hot or spicy. So don't feel like we're going to burn your mouth, but it just adds a little bit of a zing to it. So let's
Erin,
get
there was a
everything.
question in the chat. It was talking about lentils and do they raise estrogen levels?
Oh, great question, Wendy. They do not. So we know that many of our plant foods are natural sources of phytoestrogens, those plant estrogens. I'm going to start plating in my serving dish. So first in goes my salad. And we know that plant estrogens, phytoestrogens, are very safe and healthy to consume, even with estrogen receptor positive breast cancer. In fact, phytoestrogens in the diet are thought to have a protective effect against cancers, including breast cancer. So, incorporating whole foods that contain phytoestrogens, not just lentils, but we're talking our soy foods, some of our seeds like flax seeds, some of our other beans like chickpeas and black beans that are naturally containing are not only healthful, but they are protective. So know that incorporating lentils is healthy and helps to support immune health, gut health, and reduce risk of cancer recurrence. So feel good about that. All right, so my salad goes in. Let's dress this a little bit, and then we'll finish with some garnish.
I love the
Okay.
big pot. That actually is like is that like a soup pot?
It is,
It looks like
I
you can
don't
cook in it, like a
You
baking.
can you
Yeah.
can cook in it. It does have a lid, but
Mhm.
I love this because it's wide and open.
Yeah,
So
it's
when
really
it's
pretty.
sitting out on the table along with your other indulgent foods, it presents really nicely. And so, with all this color, we want to make this visually appealing so people enjoy it. So let's garnish and then we'll get wrapped up. So first and foremost, we're going to add a little bit of cheese. I have some feta cheese here in the brine that I'm just going to crumble on top. So what we have serving in here, you can make ahead of time. And then the garnish when this hits the table. So a little bit of feta goes in first. Let me clean my hands. And then I like to add a little bit of natural sweetness. So I have a pear. I was talking with a member yesterday, and we were talking about this time of year, our love of pomegranates. And
Mm.
so, in a salad, especially this time of year, maybe you're substituting pear for pomegranate seeds. And in our Back to Basics video library, Michelle did a really wonderful video on how to de-seed a pomegranate. It's very easy. And when you're buying them whole, it's much cheaper than buying them already seeded. So I'm just going to layer some of these pears on top. But they're really popular and really healthy this time of year and very high in antioxidants. All right, so pear goes on top, a little bit of natural sweetness. Let's add a little bit more crunch factor. So the recipe that you'll find online calls for almonds. I thought I had almonds. I do not, but instead I have some pistachios. So I have some roasted pistachios here. Just get a handful and I'll give these a rough chop. But I like this crunch. A little bit of salt, a little bit of crunch, rough chop. Uh, Pick whatever nut or seed you have. Pumpkin seeds would be fine. Sesame seeds would be fine. Walnuts would be great, or pecans this time of year, all of which is great. So my crunch will go on top. These look great. And then last but not least, I did add a little bit of a hard-boiled egg, totally optional. So another way to get some protein in. So we'll just slice these and layer these on top. And now you've got a really complete salad that visually looks really lovely. It's full of fiber, it's full of protein, it's not lacking in flavor at all. Let's just give this a little clean. And it's a great accompaniment to all of the other indulgences that we will enjoy throughout the holiday season. So, this is our lentil and cabbage crunch salad. And then from here, we are scooting over to Catherine to make her side dish that will accompany all of this. Catherine, are you ready? Do you need my dirty spatula?
Yes, I do. I would love it. It's just so
Okay,
pretty. Okay. I got
got
it. I
it,
got it.
got it.
You got it?
Just
Yes.
shake it off, just rinse it a
Yeah.
little bit, if you will.
Yeah. On the way. It's just, I don't wake up. It was probably raining. All right.
You
Well,
guys have gotten much better at that. I'm just telling you. You just got much better.
Amazing.
Oh, you're so funny. That looked beautiful. Thank you, Erin. Welcome, Catherine. What do you got for us next?
yes. So I have one of the most popular vegetables, and I will be doing a side dish. So when I say the most popular vegetable, I think we can all kind of agree that it's potatoes. So I will be doing a spinach Gruyere potato casserole. So for that, because potatoes do take a little bit more time, I do have some prep ahead. I did already put my potatoes in the oven for about 20-25 minutes. And the way that you can tell it's because they're a little bit softer to the touch. So I'll use a, a fork, just stab it in there a little bit. And because it can go all the way, and then I know that they're pretty much ready. Although we're going to put them in the oven again. Now, because it's a casserole, we don't have to be nitpicky on how they look. So I just pretty much chopped in chunks about an inch wide. That will they'll cook a little bit faster. However, if you like chunkier potatoes, you can definitely go ahead and just do that and keep it as simple as possible. Because I know with turkeys and everything else that is going on with the holidays, we want to keep some things simple. And potatoes are going to taste great either way. So this is an easy one. So potatoes to the side. And then now for the casserole, what I have is I'm going to make a mixture here. And then we are focusing on vegetables, right? It's the holidays. And then, yes, you can definitely, enjoy your time. Food is definitely one of those things that we just enjoy. And potatoes are a vegetable that does count, but we can make it a little bit better. We can make it more colorful, right? Aubrey and Erin were talking about making it a little bit more nutrient dense and then more colorful. So I'm going to be playing around a little bit with some of the herbs and one of another famous vegetable that is spinach. So I have a chunk here of spinach, is about a cup. And then I also have some parsley and some fresh basil. And then again, we're just going to chop everything as easy as we can because it doesn't really matter. It's just going to be all in the casserole. So for that, I'm just going to grab for the spinach. I'm just going to grab it here and then just start making some knife movements to the side, and then you'll see what I'll do so that it's just all neatly and in small pieces. If you wanted to highlight a little bit more of the spinach, you can leave the leaves whole, and that way it'll look a little bit more greener. For me, I like to just kind of hide it, and nobody will know the difference between parsley or spinach. So that just makes it a little bit more fun. So then now to the side, I just did some lengthways to the spinach, and then now to the side, and then I'm just going to carefully just grab it with my left hand, and then my dominant hand is just going to hold here safely, and then I'm just going to go to the side, push to the sides, and then there's still going to be some chunks, so I'll just move it again to the middle, put it a little bit more neatly, and then I'm just going to do it all over again. This is pretty much what I'm going to do for all of these nice greens that I have. If you don't have fresh parsley, you can use some of dried ones, or you can swap it out for cilantro, or even just do spinach if that's what you have available. Same for basil. If you don't have fresh one, you can always just use dried one, and then just give a little bit more volume with another vegetable. Keep it simple because we don't want to take away the flavor from the cheese. So now that I have my spinach here to the side, I'm going to bring in some basil, and then I'm going to do exactly the same thing. And then, like I mentioned, so it's going to be focused on pretty much a lot of cheese. So I did Gruyere, and a fun fact about cheese and Gruyere, same as with Parmesan, if you guys ever heard that, it has to be exclusive from this little town that's called Parma. It happens the same thing with Gruyere. So Gruyere is made, or comes from, was originally made in a small town in Switzerland called Gruyere, same, but with an S at the end. And in certain areas of Europe, and then specifically in Switzerland, it's one of those things where you can't just try and replicate it from another place. It has to come from certain areas of Switzerland in order to call it Gruyere. So I thought that was a fun fact, and keeping it within the original recipe. If you haven't had Gruyere, it's similar to Parmesan. It does have a little bit more of a nutty feel. It's a hard cheese. So if you are a little bit sensitive to lactose, not completely lactose intolerant, you might be able to tolerate it a little bit better, because the aging process, it takes away some of that lactose. So it makes it a little bit more tolerant if you experience some type of gas. And then the flavor just sticks out a lot. And then also, like any cheese, it's a good source for calcium, a good source for protein. And then we always talk about moderation with anything that's dairy, but it's the holidays. So you're gonna indulge a little bit and you love cheese, I would say this is the perfect time for that. So as you guys can see, I'm still chopping, doing the same thing. I'm gonna show you, it all looks the same, which is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Nobody can tell that there's spinach in here. So now I'm just pretty much gonna mix everything together into this one bowl. I'm gonna throw in all of my greens. I'm gonna use the same bowl for everything. Oh, I'm gonna take actually a little bit just to garnish. All right, so I have all my greens in here, and then now I'm gonna grab 2 eggs. The recipe, if you want to make a bigger bowl, would be pretty much double of what I'm doing. So for now, just 2 eggs. I'm gonna do a little bit of garlic. I have some minced garlic in here. You guys can see just a little bit here. I'm gonna use most of it. I'm gonna take some out. Okay. I'm gonna do a little bit of salt. Some salt. And I'll be using a little bit of half and half. I'm going to use about half a cup. That's funny. Half a cup of half and half. Just to give it a little bit. All right. Here we go. And then now for the good part. I'm going to do the cheese. So the recipe calls for this half serving 1 cup. So there's 2 cups in here. I'm going to do half of this. All right, beautiful. And I hope you guys love cheese. If not, you can always replace it for adding just more vegetables. Um, but this recipe is going to turn out just lovely for those side dishes this holiday. So I'm just pretty much mixing everything. And then I'm just going to add in my potatoes. And then I'll put it back in the oven for about 20 minutes. It's going to be covered so that it cooks within all of this good stuff. And then we're going to leave it open for about 5 more minutes so that it browns a little bit. All right, so that's pretty much very well mixed. We're going to throw in the potatoes. So here we go. I used about, I believe it was three large potatoes to be about almost a pound. When I used red potatoes, I kept the skin on. I washed them pretty well, but then when you keep the skin on, that makes it so that it has more fiber. That's going to help with those blood sugars, especially if you've been trending a little bit high with your blood sugars. That can help not prevent some of those spikes. And then, like Aubrey said, if you keep watching a little bit right after the meal, that helps with just getting some more movement. It helps with blood sugars. It helps with digestion. So now that I have my potatoes in, pretty much the same. Just gonna mix it in very well. And this already smells so delicious.
Catherine, we had Sharon ask that for a non-holiday meal, would it be really wonderful to pair this dish with maybe some tomato soup for a nutritious meal? Thinking of those cold winter nights.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
It
I would
does.
say,
It's really
yeah,
good.
I would say you might need a little bit more protein. So maybe if you're not vegetarian, maybe just like a little bit of chicken, or I could even throw in some like white beans in here. That would actually be very well because then it would give it even more smoothness and more texture without taking away the flavor
It's
from white
good.
beans. Okay, so I'm gonna just put it in my baking bowl, and then I'm just gonna cover it. And parse it in very well. Make sure that all of my potatoes are covered, and then I'm gonna cover it with foil. And like I said, it's about 20 minutes. All right, so this is going into the oven. 20 minutes. Now, for the sake of time, I know you guys are thinking, well, we have like 10 more. Now, I did make one ahead of time just in case. So this is what it's gonna look like right after that. I left it, like I said, take off the foil, then you put it back in so that it browns a little bit, like 5 more minutes, nothing too insane with timing. And then that's pretty much it. I'm gonna just pour a little bit in my plate, and I'm gonna use some of this little side garnish that I saved. But this is it. This is the way that you can get some potatoes, still vegetables, a little bit of cheese. So it's kind of like a nice balance of flavors, and you are sneaking in some vegetables. You can go in as much as you can with the vegetables. We're always trying to sneak in. I know that Aubrey did a whole class on sneaking in those vegetables. So if you guys haven't already checked our video library for those cooking classes, then I would definitely say this would be a great time to see how different ways of just, getting your typical recipes, your holiday special classes, recipes, and then just finding ways of how to sneak in even more nutrients in there. There you go.
Looks beautiful. It really holds together nicely. You could actually cut that like a pie. I could see that as a side
Yes,
dish, on your table as a little pie slice. Looks really great.
yes.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right. Yes. And then
You ready to
now,
bring on your next toast?
yes, and I'm pretty sure that Michelle will also need this.
Yes,
And I know, yeah, Michelle, you're ready for us?
I'm ready.
All right. There you go.
Thank you,
Perfect.
Catherine.
Got
Oh,
it.
I always have to reach to Texas. I always have to reach so far. You guys always make me reach the furthest. Thank you for this. I will have to wipe it off because I have the privilege and honor of doing dessert. And I hope no one tuned out thinking that, oh my gosh, she has an apple and a pear. That's not dessert. Trust me, it's going to be delicious. So this is just the beginning. So what I'm doing is a holiday yogurt parfait. And then you also might be thinking, parfaits are for breakfast, but no, I'm going to put a little twist on it and we're going to make this a delicious dessert. You can probably still have it for breakfast. I might do that. But the first step, I'm going to start building the parfait. So I have my little cup here and I'm going to start building it and there's a lot of different components. The first thing though is the fresh fruit. So I have my pear here, going to slice it. And what I want to do is make it into a dice, just so it looks nice and pretty. I don't think I want to do some large chopping. I think I want to dice it. You can take the peel off if you need to. As we know, the fiber is in the peel, but if you want to peel your apple and your pear, you're more than welcome to do that. All right. Any type of pear will do. Obviously, I'm using a green pear. You can use Bartlett pears, whatever color that you would like. I wanted to use a green pear because I'm using a red apple. And again, there is no limit onto what no limit as to which flavor of apple. So this is Pink Lady apple. Those are my favorite. I tend to enjoy the tart apples, and I think this will pair nicely, no pun intended, with the pear. So the pear is sweet and then a little bit of tart with the apple. All right, so that is the base. I have my pear, I have my apple. You might see my sous chef Bella jump up whenever the knife hits the cutting board. She usually makes her entrance or her appearance in the kitchen. All right, so the next step is to add the yogurt. I'm using just plain Greek yogurt. You do not need flavored yogurt because there's going to be so much flavor in this. So, just going to dollop it right on top. I don't think I'm going to use the full container. I think that looks good just like that because we have other stuff that we're going to be piling into this. All right. So the next step is to add cranberries. Okay, so as Aubrey mentioned, we have a recipe, a homemade cranberry sauce recipe. Gosh, I love this recipe so much. I was so excited to make it because I'm not going to be using that much of it. So I have a lot of extras. I'm the only one in the house that eats it. So the recipe is out in our catalog, excuse me, our recipe catalog. So during class, I cooked the cranberries. All it is on the stovetop, half a cup of water, half a cup of honey, and a 12-ounce bag of fresh cranberries. I just brought it to a boil and then it simmers and then you can start hearing the cranberries popping. So you just keep stirring it and then you take it off heat. And as it's been sitting there, it's been thickening up, which is what you want. But there are some other steps that are left. So the next step is to zest an orange. So I'll take my zester, I'm just getting a little too close, and I'm going to add some orange zest in here. So if you don't have a microplane, they are awesome to have in your kitchen. You can zest all of your citrus, garlic, or ginger. And when you zest, you just want to take the top layer off. That's where all the fragrant oils are. If you keep going in the same spot, you're going to start going into the pith, and that's a little bitter, so you don't want that. And the orange, not only is it going to come, give us some nice flavor, it's also going to brighten the cranberry sauce. Right. So I zested my orange, put that aside. Before class, I used a fresh squeezed orange from actually some mandarins that have been sitting there that were on their last leg. So I'm excited I have this opportunity. There's like 4 mandarins, I believe. I juiced them, and now I have some cinnamon. You can go heavy on the cinnamon. So this is why I had to wipe the spoon, because it was full of potato and lentils. I don't want that in my cranberry sauce. So I'm just giving this all a good mix. It smells so good. So you might be thinking, Michelle, it's a holiday parfait. I don't want 90 steps to this. So I sometimes can be an overachiever, as my son likes to say, I'm extra, but it was an excuse for me to make this. If you don't want to do the extra step, you can buy a cranberry jelly. This time of year, all those little specialty jellies are out there on the market. Just be mindful, a lot of them have added sugar. So you're only going to use a couple teaspoons just to give it some color. What I will do is just take a spoonful, and I'm going to put it right on top, just so there's a nice layer. And that looks so pretty already. Okay. The next step is to add sweetened almonds. So sweetened almonds meaning we added some sugar and we added some cinnamon, and we baked them. There are so many recipes online for candied almonds or candied, any type of candied nuts. We see them around the holidays. So just be mindful as you are making these recipes that we need to watch our portion size, right? So almonds are a great source of plant protein. They're full of fiber, but when they are candied, we just have to be mindful of how much we're eating. So as we keep saying, the holidays are for indulging, but we also want to have balance. So because there's so much sweetness in this, we don't need a lot of almonds. So I made these before class. They're just a cinnamon almond. They're absolutely delicious. When you get the recipes from us, this will be linked out. So you can click on it, use the same recipe that I did, or find your own recipe, or maybe you have your own recipe. So I'm just going to top just a couple. All right, so now I've got my candied almonds. Last step, and it's super quick. Bringing the orange back, I'm going to add some orange slices. So you can peel your orange. There are so many different ways to peel our citrus. I actually used a blood red orange. You can use any type of orange. And then I cut off each side, and then I just go around and I cut the peel off. You can do this however you would like. This is just my favorite way. I feel like it's the quickest way. Okay. Look at that. Oh, it's like an ombre orange. Check that out. Good job to the person who pulled my order. That was great. So I'll slice this in half, and I'll just cut a couple wedges. That. And there we go. Our beautiful holiday parfait. Again, I started off with apples and pears, topped it with Greek yogurt, unflavored, the homemade cranberry sauce, and then some beautiful blood orange oranges and my candied almonds. So this is a dessert, right? This is more than breakfast. So there you have it. And I think, Aubrey, this rounds off our holiday meal. I'll hand it back to you.
Absolutely. And I'd love to see everybody's holiday creations if we want to have everybody front and center. I know we've got from appetizer to salad to side to dessert, we have it all. So if you're looking for any holiday meals, make sure that you are checking out our Unite for Her recipe blog. We have over 200 recipes on our blog. So I am confident you can find something for your holiday table. Last but not least, I know we are at time. I just wanted to give a little brief teaser. I know we're probably not thinking about the new year yet, but this time of year really ramps up. And I just want to remind everybody and let everybody know who hasn't participated before that this January we will once again have Plantuary, which is our month-long initiative to help you to eat more plants. And I mean, if today's recipes aren't a testament to that, I don't know what is. But you'll see more information coming through in your email after the holiday. So stay tuned for Plantuary. And I hope everybody enjoys some happy and healthy holidays and you can set your holiday table.
That was perfect. Thank you. Such a great segment. I love them all. Yeah, very good. I have one more announcement I wanted to make, besides the fact that we want to remind you to come to our speaker series on Thursday, December the 4th. That is Feeding the Mind. That's Nutrition for Cancer, Related Cognitive Decline with Aubrey and Aaron. So please mark your calendar for that. That will be for December the 4th at 6 o'clock. And then we have Giving Tuesday coming up. And in the office, we actually invite people to come to our office, or we invite them to do a little pre-recording. So if there's anybody here that wants their voices heard and they want to share a little bit on why they are so passionate about the work that Unite for Her does, I would be honored to interview you. So even our dietitian team is going to join in on that as well. So I just put my email in the chat. Please let me know, send me an email if that's something that you would like to do. We have 6 already. Our goal is to get 12 for that day. And we sort of run it like a telethon. And it's really beautiful to hear all the voices of our community. So no pressure. It's just like on Zoom, like we're having a conversation. And thank you. Yeah. Well, that's a wrap. It was very good. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining and all the kitchens that we got to be in today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, good night, everybody. And another special shout out to our sponsors. We are grateful for them leading the way. Our presenting sponsor for Unite for Connect is West Merck, Lilly, Novartis, and Gilead Sciences, with support from our gold sponsors, Pfizer, GSK, Daiichi Sankyo, and supporting sponsors AbbVie, TerraSera Therapeutics, and Veristem Oncology. We cannot do what we do without you all. All right, everybody. Good night.
Good night. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Bye.
Have a wonderful holiday. Set that table and think of us. All right. Thank you. Go team.
Thanks, Sue.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. Appreciate you guys. Have a good night.
You
Good
too.
night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.